was driving by here and I said, why not? Why not? Light screen, folks. Ouch. Sure if it's finished or not. $15. I guess it helps get the monument completed. That's kind of a poor view there, artist. It's going to be something when it gets done. 10 years from now. I think they've been working on it that long. I'm not really sure. Anyway.
A successful studio career doing commissioned sculpture in New England. He was honored to be asked to assist Gutzon Borglum at Mount Rushmore during the summer of 1939. Later that year, his marble portrait, Paderewski, Study of an Immortal, won first prize by public vote at the New Year's Memorial. Moreover, Korczak promised that the mountain carving would be the focal point of a vast cultural and educational humanitarian project.
To carve a mountain to a race of people that once lived here for maybe 150,000 years? What an honor. A little Polish boy from Boston? What an honor. And that's all I ever thought of.
Although Korczak originally wanted to carve the memorial elsewhere, the Lakota elders insisted their memorial be in the Black Hills, sacred to them for many generations. And the elders knew who they wanted to be the subject of the carving: the Lakota warrior Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse, Oglala Lakota, was born around 1840 near Rapid Creek on the edge of the Black Hills and grew up with the traditional ways of the Lakota, preparing him for his future life as a warrior for the tribe. He was not named Crazy Horse at first. He started out as Curly, possibly because he had wavy hair. Later, after he proved himself in battle, Curly earned his father's name, Crazy Horse, Tashunkawitko, which means his horse is crazy. In 1876, Crazy Horse led a band of Lakota warriors against Custer's 7th U.S. Cavalry Regiment. At the time, it was called the Battle of Little Bighorn, or Custer's Last Stand. Some Native Americans call it the Battle of the Greasy Grass. Many Native Americans look on that battle as a victory over a much larger force. After the battle, the U.S. government rounded up Northern Plains tribes that resisted. Crazy Horse continued to resist, and in 1877, under a flag of truce, Crazy Horse went to Fort Robinson, Nebraska. Negotiations broke down, possibly because of incorrect translations. As Crazy Horse was escorted to jail, he struggled and drew his knife, and his friend, Little Big Man, tried to restrain him. It's recorded that an infantry guard made a lunge with a bayonet and mortally wounded the great warrior. His parents transported him to his resting place, and the exact location is said to be a secret to this day. Chief Standing Bear and the elders were convinced Korczak was destined to carve Crazy Horse when they discovered he was born on September 6th. This was within hours of the date Crazy Horse died 31 years earlier. The elders saw the coinciding dates as an omen. Moreover, during his lifetime, Crazy Horse told his people he would return to them in stone. He often wore a protective stone talisman in his ear. depicted on Korchak's scale models. And so, in 1946, Korchak traveled to the Black Hills, and together, he and Chief Standing Bear chose the 600-foot mountain that would be carved. At first, he planned to carve just the first 100 feet, but the two men decided that the entire mountain would be needed to tell the story. The finished sculpture would be 563 feet high and 641 feet long. With that decision, Korchak knew he wouldn't live to see Crazy Horse completed. At that time, also, Standing Bear agreed with Korchak that the sculpture would not represent just one leader, but stand as a great symbol for the spirit of all Native Americans. When he moved to the Black Hills in May 1947, there was nothing but land and trees at the location. No water, electricity, roads, or money. Korchak lived in a tent the first 7 months, while he hand-built roads and a place to live, making the log studio home from pine trees on the property. The dedication blast, June 3, 1948, was the only blast that year. Korchak single-jacked or hand-drilled the holes for the first blast, and it removed just 10 tons. The blast was touched off by Chief Henry Standing Bear, Korchak, and South Dakota Governor George T. Nicholson. 5 survivors of the Battle of Little Bighorn were among the special guests. Ruth Ross, a young volunteer who had helped raise funds for the Noah Webster statue back in Connecticut, had arrived in June 1947 to help with the memorial. She helped build the log studio home and the 741-step staircase up the mountain. Finally, work began on the mountain in 1949.
Can you imagine how humble I started on the mountain? I started with a single jacket, a hammer and a steel. And I drilled my holes around 3-4 feet deep and blew them off. Then I bought an old compressor. It was 24 years old, no Buddha. Weighed around 4 tons. And I put a pipeline 2,440 feet long from the compressor on the ground up to the top of the mountain. So for the first 7 years, I climbed that 741 steps and I carried everything up in my back. When I go up, I start the big compressor. I used to crank it, you know, and I put a 50-pound box of dynamite in one shoulder, put a wire, a string of bits around my neck. Then I take maybe a native 10 or 12, 14-foot steel in my left hand, and that's how I start up the mountain. The old Buddha, the old compressor, was kind of decrepit, and I get sometimes part of the way up, and I just hear that thing go kaput, 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 kaput. Put everything down, walk all the way down the staircase, start up again, crank it up. Just start to drill one hole, get down about a foot, and you can hear the big Buddha kaput, kaput, kaput. Down I go again. One day I did that 9 times, and it gets awful old. Oh, I tell you, that walk up and down there is terrible.
Ruth and Korchak married on Thanksgiving Day 1950. The following year, Ruth helped her husband start drafting 3 books of comprehensive plans for all aspects of the mountain carving, ensuring that the work would continue. The couple built and operated a large dairy farm and lumber mill at Crazy Horse to help sustain Crazy Horse through the difficult early years. Every winter, they added a room or 2 to the visitor complex, which also housed their growing family, which would total 10 children, 5 girls and 5 boys. Everyone helped with the multitude of chores at Crazy Horse.
You see why we had 10 children. They were all, the boys were necessary up on the mountain, and the girls were necessary down here to help mother with the visitors. All I hope you'll ever have is a strong back, good mind, lead a living for other people. And since I started my life with just my hands, and how I would think, I can only leave them the same heritage. It's up to them to make their own mind.
I was bulldozing on the backside on one of the roads that we were building, and my dad was bulldozing down on the ramp lower, and the brakes went out of the cat. And I went off that edge, went over my dad, and the cat went all the way to the bottom, or the top of the mud pile. And I bailed out, and I went about 70 feet or so, I suppose. And my dad probably thought I was dead, but he turned around and looked, and there I was, dusting myself off. I landed in the only soft pile of dirt in the mountain. And once he realized I was alive, he said, "You got it in there, you get it out."
Korchak and Ruth believed in a strong work ethic and not handouts. They were so passionate about the humanitarian purpose of Crazy Horse that Korchak twice turned down $10 million in federal funding for the project. He did not believe the government would carry out the important cultural and educational goals or complete the mountain carving, which he knew would take much longer than one man's lifetime. Korchak passed away October 20th, 1982. Ruth and their children carried on the work with the books Korchak and Ruth created together and the scale models as their guides. Ruth served as the CEO of the Crazy Horse Memorial Foundation and was actively involved for the remainder of her life, providing leadership, inspiration, and a steady guiding hand.
Korchak, of course, was in charge of the mountain and did all of that, and even though we planned the books together, without him, there wouldn't be a Crazy Horse, and I'm perfectly willing to give him all that credit. But he said before he passed away that he couldn't carve Crazy Horse from the grave, that there were things that we would have to do on our own and decisions that I would have to make. And one of the hardest decisions in the world, and it took 2 years to decide after he passed away, was that we were not going to carve the horse's head, which is what Korchak would have done. We were going to do Crazy Horse's face first. And he left it so that a big share of the rock was gone in front of the face, and we had to clear it down to the arm and get ready to go to work on it. But it was far more ready to work on than the horse's head was. And looking back on it now, I know we made the right decision.
The Indian's head emerged from the rock in the decade 1988 to 1998. Crazy Horse's head is 87 feet 6 inches high. Its dedication revealed the first finished work on the mountain. With a blast near Crazy Horse's left index finger that day, the focus of the work transitioned to the much larger task of blocking out the 219-foot horse's head. The outstretched left arm is 243 feet long. Crazy Horse's hand is 33 feet high. Over the next decade, work continued blasting out a series of benches, removing the millions of tons of rock from in front of the massive horse's head. As they drilled, blasted, and pushed the rock off from some of the biggest blasts ever on the mountain.
We're looking for people to come here and to be kind of a fourth generation. We see visitors on the porch who will come in with a youngster big other hand and say, you know, my parents brought me here when I was this size. Now I'm bringing mine.
Ruth passed away May 21st, 2014. Progress of the dream, the mountain, and the humanitarian goals has continued with the second and third generation Julkowski family members, the foundation board, and dedicated management and staff.
We've moved a lot of rock over the last 7 years, getting us to where we can do finishing work. And the finishing work itself requires a lot of measurements and serving up, so we just have to be really precise, and precision takes time.
This mountain will be carved. It will be finished. Every block that we take out, every saw cut we do, every square foot that we torch pulls that vision of Chief Henry Standing Bears more and more into reality. The larger mission is going to go on forever, so we may finish, but Crazy Horse is just getting started.
We stand on the shoulders of all the work of all the people that came before us. And we stand on Crazy Horse's shoulders, and Henry Standing Bear, and Mother and Dad, and all the staff. We're just a stepping stone.
I feel the monument is a great tribute to the Indian. It would give us a better hold of ourselves as to who we are.
It represents the integrity of our elders who asked Korshak to build a monument honoring one of our chiefs in our sacred Black Hills. And that is a commitment we should never lose sight of.
The Indian Museum of North America is home to an extraordinary collection of art and artifacts reflecting the diverse histories and cultures of the American Indian people, and speaking eloquently to present and future generations about American Indian life. The Mountain Carving Gallery shares more detail about the process of carving the mountain, including a display of tools used. The original studio home and workshop are filled with the family sculptures, artworks, and memorabilia. The Native American Educational and Cultural Center provides space for featured cultural programs and additional displays within the museum's collections.
This is really an opportunity to be able to share our culture. There's so much to learn.
We have an awful lot of amazing things, nearly 11,000 artifacts and items, art and history, from sculptures to photographs and all these things that really tell so many different stories of their own. We kind of enliven that spirit within each and every visitor that they get to share in these stories. They get to become a part of this. That's really the main thing that people take away from a visitation to a place like this, is that they become a part of that story as well.
Chief Henry Standing Bear and Korchak Joukowsky agreed strongly that education is of the utmost importance in creating a better future for Native Americans. The story of the Indian University of North America began in earnest in 2009, when two large gifts catalyzed the progress. The first, a $2.5 million grant from the T. Denny Sanford Foundation to build a blended instructional and residential facility, and the second, a $5 million endowment from Muffy and Paul Kristen to fund the education efforts in perpetuity.
The Indian University at Crazy Horse is uniquely different from other universities in that it provides a wraparound support system in order to help students succeed, and the education portion of the original mission is still being fulfilled. You can see it in the student workers that are here. We get to see our students transition from high school into successful workers and successful students here, and see them not only complete their university degrees, but also go back and work for the tribes that they come from.
I think it's important for the public to know that there's a lot of heart and there's a lot of passion that goes into the Crazy Horse Memorial. It's a beacon to the world so that people can come from all walks of life and recognize the work that's being done. Preserving Native culture and educating Native youth. The Joukowsky family is certainly dedicated and determined to help Native youth. There's generations of leaders coming through there to further their educational journey, and they're going to go on to affect change throughout the world and be positive influences in a lot of lives.
Crazy Horse Memorial grows and evolves with the generations. Many visitors return year after year to see the progress on the mountain and the growth of the educational, cultural, and humanitarian project. Mountain work continues to be funded by visitors and friends of the project who catch the vision. In a special sense, visitors become participants in that progress and become part of the exciting history in the making at Crazy Horse Memorial, a mountain carving, and so much more.
For Mom and Dad to be here today, I think Mother would be very pleased with how the university is going. She had such a soft heart for children and people that were a little down on their luck or anything, and she just wanted to help, especially children and young people. And I think she'd be pleased with how that is going. And I think Dad would be totally amazed with what's going on in the mountain and all the equipment and the tools and everything that everybody's learned. And I think he'd be very impressed.
Some people might just come to see the mountain carving, but when they realize that there's a university and a museum, they're exposed to something they didn't even know about, and that's our opportunity to share with the world the Native American people and their cultures, past, present, and what's going on in the future.
The purpose of the mountain is to invite and to attract visitors here to learn about our dream, to learn about the mission, and it fulfills its goals in that regard. When folks come here to Crazy Horse, we wanted to learn more.
It's a model of what's possible when there's an appreciation for inherent value of the human lives that were here for centuries before this country got established as the United States.
We're telling the story of Chief Henry standing there in Korjak, and we wanted to be told. I think Native Americans and the general public can take pride in what we're doing.
It'll take 100 years. What difference does it make? Isn't time relative? 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 year? I think I'll live long enough. When you drive up that road, you'll say, yes, sir. That is Crazy Horse. That's the story of the Indian people.
I want to right a little of the wrong that they did to these people. Because this is part of American history. You know, there's an old saying, and I've quoted it 2 or 3 times in my life, and it goes like this. When the legends die, the dreams end. And when the dreams end, there is no more greatness.
Looks like Crazy Horse up there, doesn't it? Huh. Is that a twink thing? Weird.
How's everybody doing today?
Good, how are you?
Oh, we're gonna just beat you. Hungry?
Yes. Got any food?
Oh, well, no.
Look at Crazy Horse.
Well, welcome to the Black Hills and Crazy Horse, folks. Thank you. A beautiful country out here. One of the most asked questions we always get is when this is going to be done. And one of the most answers that we cannot give you is when it's going to happen.
12 years.
All we can say is it's going to be many, many years before it's done. You take a look up here, you see the tunnel. Korchak said that was the best thing he ever did for the whole time he was here on the mountain. Putting that through made his life a little bit easier. That allowed him to move his equipment from the back side of the mountain over this side instead of driving all the way down and around and then coming back up here. He put it in that location because he knew in the future this is going to be 110 feet wide by 100 feet tall. That is the opening underneath Crazy Horse's left arm as he's got it extended. Now you see the thumb and the index finger up there. Right below, in between the thumb and the finger, you'll see a piece of rock. Well, that happens to be a piece of the horse's mane that's going to be sticking up between the two fingers and then gradually work its way down to the right as it drapes down over the head of the horse, the forehead, and his nose. And then they're going to start carving back to the left and have that horse's mane drape down over the the back side of his neck up there. Did you folks all see the movie Inside?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Give you a lot of information. Tell you it's going to be a quiz down here when we get off the bus. We're going to see who paid attention. And now they mentioned about the Indian University of North America. That's going to be built down here, and all this land over here to our right, all the way over and all the way back up in the hills there, and all of this on the left. Now when Korchak did his first blast up there, he took off 10 tons of rock. We've taken off just a little bit more. We're up to 8 million tons of rock right now. And because this is going to be done in the round, we got millions more tons of rock to take off.
Where do you put the rock once you take it off?
We're driving on it. We keep it right here. We use it wherever, whenever we need it at. This road used to be about half the size. This is the original road Korchak put in order to get to the top of the mountain up there. So when we turn around on the back side, you'll see the road continues back up in through the trees. It takes about 4 minutes to drive from here up to the back of Crazy Horse's Head. This is the only road that all of our crew, equipment, and our tours use to get up and down.
We could just get a new road.
Being the pinky, then you got your ring finger, then you got your middle finger, and then your index finger. And they're also doing work on the back side over here. Now you folks on the right side of the bus are going to get to see the same thing.
Look at that short house.
When we get down here to our viewing area, you're going to be about 1,200 feet away. If you folks got questions about anything, just ask. I'll be glad to answer them for you.
Destroyed buildings.
All these cones down here is for your safety. I need you folks to listen.
This too.
I need you folks to listen. Can you guys be quiet for a minute? I need you to listen to this. You have to stay within all these orange cones down here. It's for your safety. Don't go out into this roadway. You can spread out from this end all the way down, but please stay on to the right side of the bus like everybody else down here is doing. And then get to watch yourself getting off the bus. Now you can talk.
So what about those wooden structures? There's the Jew cave.
We started working on the fingertip of that index finger.
Yeah.
Okay? Again, it's so narrow up there. It's only about 100 feet wide up in this area here. So you don't want to mess anything up before we get in there and start working. You've got nothing at this narrow. You've got nothing up there to absorb that initial shock wave or all that vibration either. So it's not like we're never ever going to do it again. We got a lot of rock on all three sides here we got to take off.
Right.
It's just been suspended until they get out of those critical areas. They start coming further down on the mountain where it gets wider and bigger.
Right.
Now you've got more down here to absorb all that shock and that vibration and everything. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's been stopped altogether. It's just a temporary thing.
Got it.
This is one of the things that's really amazing how timing, when Korchak started here, and you start following him year to year to year, and then all of a sudden you see how this technology has changed as time went on, gotten better and better and better. We don't have these, whoops, we shouldn't have done that, or we shouldn't have blasted that or cut that. It eliminates all the guesswork out of there. We got the surveyor posts, 14 of them around here. We got satellite. We've got GPS out here. We got lasers. They'll shoot at different angles to triangulate your measurements, get them down to the nth inch. So all that technology, and then we have Korchak's golden rule. You never take off any more than you need to stand on. So it's not like we're blasting these huge blasts and big chunks of rock the size of this bus. We do it in small sections at a time. You have to do it that way. It's a very precise cut. Not only do you have weather conditions that give you problems, you got the mountain up there, it'll stop you dead in your tracks. You can't go any further until everybody gets off, goes down, has the meeting. Okay, we've got this problem area, what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, how much change do we have to do on the way down? So anything that you change as far as your measurements and everything up here affects everything else as you're going down. So you got to throw all those things in the mix. This is why it's taken it 75 years. In the first years, no money was coming in here whatsoever. Korchak worked 12 years up there all by himself. If you saw the movie, you know he got that sledgehammer and that steel that he used, and that's how he drilled holes in this granite. Not an easy thing to do by hand.